tonight it's a show certified fresh by my very own mother.
What?
She still has no idea what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah.
But welcome anyway to The Sweat, ladies and gentlemen. The better half on your screen, that's Jessie Coffield. I'm Emerson Lotzia. Our rundown tonight is kind of all over the place, but in a good way.
We got some cross-sport Super Bowl prop bets to run through. What? Put Up Your Bukes makes a special appearance. Can you believe it? And Reed and Jeff will help you guys with roster construction ahead of tomorrow's Waste Management Open.
But first, it is our NBA panel. DK Live's Julian Edlow, Mike Barner, and Alex Barutha of RotoWire. Julian, Alex, and Mike, Jam, J-A-M. Our producer, Tom, came up with that. His personality is off the chart.
He said it like this, Jam, do you get it? Mm-hmm. So let's play some price check, a big dude's edition. So Jules, Jahlil Okafor against Denver at 6,600, or Willie Cauley-Stein for 400 less facing Atlanta.
Yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein is in an awesome spot here against the Hawks. It should be a really fast-paced game, but how can we go against Jahlil Okafor right now when Anthony Davis, Nikola Mirotic, and Julius Randle all remain out? He's just the only big guy that New Orleans has. And while he could get in foul trouble going up against a talented guy like Nikola Jokic on the opposite end, the game script just sets up so nice for Okafor now, where he's going to play if this game is close or a blowout. He just has to have those minutes, and he's been averaging over 40 DraftKings points in his last 5 games. He's still a good value.
Mike, you want to pay up for Okafor here?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You definitely got to go Okafor here. He's the safer option. Yeah, Cauley-Stein is a great matchup, but Cauley-Stein hasn't topped 34.8 DK points in any of his last 7 games. So based on the extreme amount of minutes that Okafor is going to see, he's the safer bet.
Alex, you want to go 3 for 3 here?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with what the other guys are saying here. I mean, Okafor, while, the matchup against Jokic isn't ideal, Willie Cauley-Stein is still getting his minutes sometimes taken away from him by Marvin Bagley, and Harry Giles is in the mix. And like we alluded to, the Pelicans just don't have other options at center that are providing even remotely close to the kind of production that Jahlil Okafor has. So I would have to go him.
Next question. Yusuf Nurkic has an 8-3 price tag against Rudy Gobert, who costs $200 less. They are facing each other. Take your pick, Alex.
I do like Nurkic here. Nurkic has a more all-around game. He can get more assists, and him getting just as many blocks as Rudy Gobert isn't out of the question. Gobert is almost certainly going to get more rebounds, but I think even though it's a tough matchup, obviously a tough matchup, Gobert is one of the best centers in the league. Nurkic's ability to be an all-around player makes me trend more towards him, especially in GPPs.
Alex, who you like? Or not Alex, Mike rather. I apologize. You have Nurkic, though, who is averaging or a little less than 3 points a game. Wow, I screwed that up.
It's okay.
Yeah, sure. Believe it or not, this is actually the 4th time these two teams have played each other already. Across the first 3, Nurkic averaged 13 points, 9.3 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Gobert averaged 13 points, 12.7 rebounds, and 4.3 blocks. I think Gobert's got the slightly higher upside. Nurkic's battling a knee injury, so I'll go with Gobert at the cheaper price.
Julian, I think that's you. Yeah, it is.
That is me. Rough start to the show for you, Emerson. Let me try and pick things up for you. While Okafor makes for an awesome cash play, everybody's going to have him in their lineups. This is a really good GPP spot to target. Nurkic is questionable with that knee injury, and these two teams going head-to-head are the last game to tip off on this slate. So I think you can lock Nurkic into your GPP lineups and maybe get some low ownership and high upside there if he does wind up playing. He just had 54 DK points against Utah about a week ago. And then if we get the news late that Nurkic is going to sit, you can just swap him right out for Gobert for $200 cheaper, and you're going to get Gobert in a smash spot because he doesn't have to go up against Nurkic, and Portland doesn't have another big body to defend him. So one way or another, you're either going to get a really low-owned Nurkic against Utah, or you're going to get Gobert going up against the Blazers, who become an easier matchup without Nurkic in there.
All right, yes or no, and why? Is Nikola Jokic the top center play at 10-9 against a New Orleans team without Anthony Davis? Mike?
Yes. However, he's very costly. I actually like the depth at center tonight. Outside of Okafor, there's Dwayne Dedmon at 5,600, even Mitchell Robinson at 4,000 if you want to go really cheap. So, yes, Jokic is the top option, but I'll probably spend up at a different position.
Jules, he's 10-9. Do you want to pay up?
I do want to pay up. I agree with Mike that center's a really deep position. I'm just not exactly sure where else I want to spend. Like, you can still afford somebody like Drew Holiday and still wind up with Jokic in your lineup. So we've been talking about the Pelicans, how good of a play Okafor is. Well, he's their only big guy, and he also stinks at defense. So I expect Jokic to tear up Okafor, and when Okafor's out of the game, there's no other bodies there, like Solomon Hill, Cheick Diallo, pretty much guys that barely get any minutes are going to be trying to stop one of the best centers in the NBA.
Alex, where are you going on this?
Yeah, I have to agree. As far as, I mean, if there's someone who I would bank on getting the top score tonight at center, it would be Jokic. I mean, it's like we mentioned, it's a high price to pay, but how many other times this season is Jokic going to get a cakewalk matchup like this? I think if you don't play him here, you're missing out on that opportunity for him to have one of the best games of his season. So trying to get him in your lineup, especially when there are so many other value options across the board due to injuries at other positions, I think it's a good way to go.
All right, good stuff by everyone except me. Jules, keep an eye on any breaking news and have it ready to deliver to the people here in about 15 to 20 minutes. Mike and Alex, or Alex and Alex, however you want to look at it. We'll see you for NBA building blocks a little later.
But first, it's CrossSport Super Bowl prop bets.
Brendan Glasheen here, and with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash, getting you caught up to speed on the latest Super Bowl 53 MVP odds in the last week. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Tom Brady and Jared Goff's odds have decreased the most. No surprise on the Brady front. Hey, there's something else he can use as motivation. While he's considered the GOAT, TB12 hasn't really delivered, nor has he failed. He's a 4-time Super Bowl MVP. He's also a 4-time non-Super Bowl MVP. His payout doesn't match the attractive potential of other players. Goff's performances against the Cowboys and Saints were underwhelming. Plus, since the start of December, aka when Cooper Kupp got hurt, Goff's production has been down. Todd Gurley and Sony Michel saw bumps in their implied probabilities. Terrell Davis was the last running back to win Super Bowl MVP. That was back in Super Bowl 32. So best to fade the running backs, unless you think Gurley will ball out in the passing game like James White did against the Falcons a few years ago. White ain't a bad sleeper, by the way. Julian Edelman's odds have been halved, plus 4,000 to plus 2,000. Tom Brady's go-to wideout these playoffs has 23 targets in 2 games. Unlike Edelman, Robert Woods has seen his odds decline. We haven't seen a wide receiver win Super Bowl MVP in 10 years. That was Santonio Holmes in 43.
I am very excited for this next segment. We're trying something new here and about to hit you guys with some CrossSport Super Bowl prop bets.
And here to lend a hand is the following NFL panel. Pierce Dietrich, Steve Buchanan, and Julian Edlow is back again. Here he is.
Can't get rid of me that easy.
No, we can't. Oh, darn.
All right, we'll start with you,
No,
Steve.
wishes we could.
Yeah, Steve, we're going to start with you because we know you're mad because Julian's here. So you've taken total points in the NBA on Sunday, 3 games, at plus 350, or total offensive yards in the Super Bowl at minus 560.
So you look at the slate that the NBA has on Super Bowl Sunday. There's 6 teams playing, and all of those teams together, when you put the average points they have per game, it's 110.3 points. So let's call it 662 points we could probably expect here. Then we look at the average yards that both of these NFL teams get. The Rams 420 per game, the Patriots 406. So for this to hit, quick math says all these NBA teams have to average about 137 points per game. Oh, I forgot to mention the Grizzlies and the Knicks are on this slate. So the chances of this happening are probably slim to none. And that's probably why we look at these odds and why they're so juiced up here. It would take a miracle for the NBA to beat out the football yards here on this one. So definitely siding with the Super Bowl odds.
Julian, I've never been the best at math. It seems like we got Steve going with football. Are you trending in the same direction?
That was actually a great answer by Steve. I wish I had something that I could disagree with him on. But, I mean, it's not – but look at the odds. Like Steve said at the end, like it would take something pretty crazy to happen here, and it's probably not going to be the NBA teams. It would have to be on the side of the Super Bowl where this is a really defensive game. And while these defenses are both talented and have the ability to play really well, it's just they're not going to hold each other to this few yards. So the odds are really steep on both sides, but it just has to be the yards in the Super Bowl when you look at how few games are on the NBA slate. And as Steve mentioned, the Knicks and the Grizzlies, not the best NBA slate to go up against the Super Bowl in terms of yards.
All right, that's fair enough. Pierce, where are you going on this one?
Well, you can't make the Super Bowl bet. You can't win any money, so why even bother doing that? It's not impossible. If you want to sweat and you want to try to watch the game with a little bit of action, it's not crazy. Both of these defenses have played well in the playoffs. The Patriots defense has been really good, aside from dealing with the blowout game and then giving up some yards in the fourth quarter to the Chiefs. The Rams played really well against the Cowboys. They went into New Orleans and kept that defense, or basically shut down the Saints for the most part. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. The odds are what the odds are. If you want some action, then go for it. But you can't bet that Super Bowl bet. There's no money to be won.
Okay.
It's impossible.
Okay.
Thank you, Pierce. Since you are here, though, how about OKC's total points against the Celtics at -143, or Todd Gurley, his total yards at +108? Which one you like more?
I'll take OKC. We know what we get. We know there's going to be a solid floor. You don't know what you're going to get with Todd Gurley. He could have a big game, or he could do absolutely nothing. Here we are. We've been saying this now for 10 days after his debacle in New Orleans. We have no idea what's going to happen, and there hasn't been one report letting us know. We keep getting Todd Gurley saying, it's all about the team. It's all about the team. You can say I'm injured. You can say blah, blah, blah. And you got Sean McVay saying, well, I need to get him more active in the game. Maybe we haven't gotten a straight answer from anyone. We have no idea what Todd Gurley is going to do. We've got a good Patriots team. We've got a passing game that works. You got C.J. Anderson that works. You take OKC in this situation.
What are you taking, Steve? Gurley with 13 total yards in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, that would be an easy one from last week. Look, this is just such a really tough one. I mean, you look at what the Celtics are allowing per game. They're one of the lowest in the league in points allowed. They're averaging about 106 per game, which is the 5th lowest in the league. And then you look at the Thunder. They're one of the fastest-paced teams in the league. Only the Hawks are averaging more possessions per game in the NBA. But you want to side with the Thunder here. And just like Pierce said, I just don't trust any fantasy output for Gurley at this point. And unfortunately, that's probably going to be, or could end up being, the biggest downfall of all the showdown lineups that I have. So I think I have about 10% Gurley at this point. And it's awful to think about that, but this is a guy who was barely used last game, and we saw C.J. Anderson didn't have a great game, but he was the preferred option once again. You think that McVay's going to get Gurley back into this game? That's what you would think, but it's just so hard to trust at this point. So the easiest way to go with this bet is to trust the Thunder in this spot. At least they'll produce something.
Julian, I know you. You are a man who likes to take risks. What are the chances you're siding with Gurley?
Bad risks.
Well, I do like to live dangerously, Emerson, but the odds are a lot closer on this one. I like taking OKC at, what was it, -140, 143. Like, that's decent money. And when you look at Todd Gurley here, if you read my prop bets article on the DK Playbook, you know that I think a lot of recency bias is here on Todd Gurley going downhill, and I think he's being underrated in this Super Bowl. The guy was he was probably going to be second in the MVP until behind Patrick Mahomes until he got hurt later in the season. And now he's plus 1,400 to win MVP in one game in the Super Bowl. His yardage total in this game, if you combine his rushing and receiving total, it comes out to exactly 94 yards. So I think Todd Gurley's being a little undervalued, but 94 points in the modern NBA is very, very few. So I will ride with OKC here, even though I am higher on Todd Gurley than most in the Super Bowl.
Now, the Rockets don't play until Monday, but you taking Harden's total points against Phoenix at -360 or Patriots total points scored at -250. Jules?
Yeah, so this one is a little bit tougher. The Rockets play at the Suns on Monday, so it is a matchup that he can go off in. And I think that you can go after the money here a little bit and go with James Harden. The Patriots have been putting up, they're averaging 39 points per game in the playoffs so far against the Chiefs and Chargers. I do expect this to be a pretty high scoring game in the Super Bowl. But if the Patriots come up with something like 31, 34, 35 points, James Harden can easily go off for 35 to 40 points against the Phoenix Suns, even with Chris Paul and Eric Gordon back in the lineup. And who knows, maybe this winds up being a game where Chris Paul or Eric Gordon winds up resting. They've both come back from pretty serious injuries. So this is one where, Emerson, I will take a risk and go with Harden.
I knew you would.
Steven, where are you going here?
So if the Patriots don't score 30 points, at least 30 points in the Super Bowl, you take your imaginary electronic ticket and just rip it in half because there's no chance that you're going to beat this now. I mean, Harden has scored at least 30 points in every game since December 13th, which is a span of 24 games. If he can make it all the way to Monday, pretty sure that streak's going to be intact. If you looked at what the Suns do defensively, you take a quick gander. Oh, that's right, nothing. 39 points average to opposing guards on the year. So this is a really tough bet to take for the Pats in this spot. Honestly, if you're taking the Pats here, you're just asking for some bad karma because you're obviously hoping for an illness or an injury for Harden because there's no way he's not going to score more than 30, which would probably be where he's going to be at. He's at against the Suns here at that game. So, nope.
Pierce, where are you going?
For the sake of argument, it's not, again, impossible. It's the odds pretty much tell you what you're dealing with. But the Patriots can put up 35 to 40 points, and that's right in the sweet spot where you can maybe get this done with Chris Paul. I know it's a great matchup against Phoenix. They give up the 4th most fantasy points to point guards. But Chris Paul's back in the mix, and Harden's total points have dropped. Sure, the periphery stats are through the roof. If we're talking total fantasy points, this would be a joke bet. But 35 real points is a possibility that the Patriots could top that. Maybe he parties too hard watching the Super Bowl. You never know.
Maybe he's rusty.
True. He could be rusty.
Speaking of rusty, I hope you are not rusty for put up your buke, Steven. So you and Pierce prep for that. We do not have Julian as part of that segment because we wanted this.
Don't need him.
Yes, we wanted it to be errorless. But for now, here is a special treat courtesy of DraftKings, Victor Cruz, and Samuel Adams.
Ask him when he's going to propose. Ask him the date. Ask him how many months it's going to take him to propose.
Nope, not going to ask that.
I'm just trying to push
People are telling me that you're looking to propose to your girlfriend. I'm sorry.
What? I'm not doing this. Tracy, I'm not doing this anymore.
All right, Victor Cruz, a UMass guy, a Super Bowl champion, salsa dancer extraordinaire. And today he's gonna help us prank some unsuspecting fans.
We're doing a promo, what you guys are shooting with Victor Cruz for a new DraftKings series, okay? So it's gonna be during the big game and everything like that.
Tracy is playing our over-the-top director. She's gonna be the one feeding cues to our fans on set.
Victor's chill, we all know, but here's the thing. We have to make sure, no politics, we're not doing politics, no religion, okay, no personal stuff, all right?
And I'm the host. Now, I'll be going off script, making Victor uncomfortable and putting the fan in an awkward position.
Emerson's gonna make sure that everything runs smoothly, okay?
And by smoothly, she means go terribly wrong.
Hi, Victor.
How are you?
I'm good.
What's
good
your
to
name?
see you. April.
I'm Pablo.
See, we got the tan memo going. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
I didn't get the memo, I guess.
Take one.
Welcome, everyone, to DraftKings Presents Having Beers With. And today, we're having beers with the one, the only, Hector Cruz. And
It's Victor.
Handy, my bad, Handy.
It's Victor. Victor Cruz.
What'd I say?
You said Hector.
You said Hector. It's Victor.
Victor.
I'm not big into, like, giant spiders.
Just let's go, come on.
All right,
Go.
I'll do it again.
Do it again.
Victor Cruz in the house.
What's going on?
I had to say what I'm
I like it. I like it.
sorry.
I like it.
You can do whatever you'd like, man. This is your interview, kid.
First question.
Is Tom Brady the greatest quarterback of all time?
I mean, Eli's my guy, obviously. Let me get that out the way really quick.
It's Eli, Tom Brady.
That doesn't make any sense. Brady and then hello down there,
Let's give him
Eli.
some respect, Emerson.
Okay.
Okay?
What is your love life like these days?
We talked about, that question was off limits.
I was
Tracy?
curious. I was curious.
Okay.
The whole love
All right,
life
let's cut
thing,
for
we
a
thought that
second.
was-
All right. Vic, Pablo
All right.
wants to know, though, if you really do have anything juicy in your personal life that you could share with us.
Nothing about my personal life will be told here today.
So you were fearless on the football field.
What are some of your greatest fears off the field?
Oh, man.
Fearless man on, you gotta have some fears off.
It's got to be frogs, actually.
Frogs?
It was.
Frogs?
Yeah, it's weird,
Really?
but something when I was young, kind of crazy happened to me, and it's just.
Right, it's frogs.
Yeah,
Some of us have kind of did a little bit of research beforehand, maybe knew that already, and I think it's time for you to kick the fear.
No, we're not doing
We got a little shoebox
What?
of frogs.
No. Tracy, bring it. Tracy.
Okay, all right. Okay,
He's
Victor.
bringing frogs out.
All right,
just said.
okay, I'm sorry.
I'm not doing this. Tracy, I'm not doing this anymore. We
I'm
just
so
had the
sorry.
conversation.
I know, it's all over the
And
place.
this is the second time he's done it.
I know.
And these
I
are
know.
things that I specifically talked about.
I don't understand.
I know.
do not want frogs. My fear, I told you about
I
this
know,
already.
I know. And we're just trying to maybe do a little push you out of the usual stuff. And
I
maybe
get
it's
it.
wrong.
I get
Maybe
it.
it's wrong.
I can't do Emerson anymore.
But Emerson's done.
You've done interviews with athletes, though.
I am used to dealing with athletes.
So you gotta go. You gotta get off.
Because of the frog.
Because of the frogs. Okay, we have 14 frogs, and that's just he's done with it.
Well, you know what I'm gonna do?
Okay.
I'm gonna hang out with the
just
frogs.
go. Okay, I'm so sorry.
All right.
All right.
Sorry about that,
It's
Dan.
all
We're
right.
back. It's just me and you
Yeah,
now,
just
man.
me and you.
I don't
Victor
know.
Cruz, obviously you see Victor Cruz, you know Victor. My name's Dan, by the way. Nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you too, man. Let's do this right this time. Let's do it right.
Dan, your
Yep.
final question. Ask him when he's gonna propose to his girlfriend.
Oh, all right.
Let's keep it about sports.
That you're looking to propose to your girlfriend. I'm sorry.
Are they telling you to say that?
No, I brought it up. I saw it on Instagram.
We're ready for one more question, right?
Last question of the day.
All right, let's just make sure we keep it on topic.
Ask him when he's gonna propose. Ask him the date. Ask him how many months it's gonna take
ask me a
him
question?
to propose.
Nope, not gonna ask that. So,
What's that?
Nothing.
Okay.
Okay. So Jerica, just actually just ask him, just like, yeah, Miss Piggy or Kermit the Frog.
Okay, so either or, Miss Piggy or Kermit the Frog. Super serious question.
You guys are kidding me, right? You guys are kidding me.
How does it feel seeing Tom come back and play for the last one? You know, you think this could be his last one? I mean,
let me ask you a question real quick, Chris. How does it feel to be pranked by DraftKings and Sam Adams?
yeah, I'm about to say, y'all about to get my ass. I knew that coming on. There wasn't no way in hell I was gonna ask that.
All right, let me ask you a question, Jerica, right? How does it feel to be pranked by DraftKings and Sam Adams?
Oh my God, thank God. I was like, there is so much tension.
You got pranked. You're so lost.
Oh man, you owe me a selfie, a couple autographs.
Oh, yeah, I got
Thank you.
No problem.
And you brought in one of my favorite
Yeah, to do it.
football players of all time.
I've been pranked! I've been pranked!
Got a little heated, but hey, cool off. Sam 76, kid. You've earned it. Nice job. Nice job.
Okay. Time to
that's
talk
not
some
what
golf.
it says. That says.
Time
Thank
to
you.
talk some golf. Let's say hello to the bad boys of the links.
Ooh.
DK Lives, Reed Fowler, and Prison Jeff Ulrich. Boys, we're talking Waste Management Open, and the name of the game is Chase or Fade.
Alrighty. Hey, Jeff, what is that behind you? It's like a new addition to like your coffee table or side table?
It looks like, yeah.
That's a priceless piece of art,
Your
Emerson.
kids.
It's something my kids made the other day. It's worth about $25 if someone wants to buy it. So
Oh, wow.
priceless.
It's a priceless piece of art that is for sale for $25.
I'm going to fade
I don't
that
even know
one.
why I do this show anymore. In 5 years, they're going to be famous artists. I won't even have to.
That's the only reason people have kids, right?
All right, okay. All right, everyone. Back on the rails. That's my job, always. Reed, chase or fade this one for me. Paying up 500 smackers from Justin Thomas to John Rahm, the Arizona State kid, is worth it.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at Justin Thomas is a great player. He's a fantastic player. He always comes in the elite category in ball striking because, I mean, honestly, he's one of the best in the business. But John Rahm, like you mentioned, he's an ASU kid. He loves it out here. I believe he has residence out here. And that's not necessarily what you're looking for as only guys who live out in Arizona. But he plays extremely well over here. He's already had 3 starts in January, something that we usually don't see from a guy like John Rahm. And he's getting in contention. Even last week after his first round, like he lost strokes approach and he still ended up in top 5. So yeah, paying up for this guy, especially if you want to fade the ownership with JT, Ricky, Finau, those guys. I think even if he's the most expensive guy, I think it's a good place to go.
Jeff, what do you think? Neither one of these guys have missed a cut. And, you know, Rahm's going to have all that hometown kind of support out there. That's important, especially on hole number 16.
You know, Emerson, there's a reason I'm undefeated, like 300-0 against Reed in this chase or fade format. And He just makes it too easy. How on earth is Jon Rahm more expensive than Justin Thomas in any tournament? Justin Thomas is a major winner. He's got he's almost got 10 wins on the PGA Tour already. Jon Rahm goes and wins like these easy tournaments, the Spanish Open, Irish Open. No, you always take a cheaper Justin Thomas, and his form here isn't even that bad. Yes, he's got a couple missed cuts, but when you compare their course form, it's really not that much different. They both have a couple top 20s. Thomas was fantastic in Hawaii for the first event, and he was fine in Sony. I expect him to come in here and dominate Jon Rahm and make Reed look silly. So no, don't pay up for him.
Well, Jeff, Hideki Matsuyama has won 2 out of 3 tournaments in TPC Scottsdale. So chase or fade, he gets win number 3.
Yeah, Hideki feels like a bit of a trap this week, to be honest. And I say that with a grain of salt. I don't think he's going to blow up and necessarily miss the cut, but he's so popular at this event because he's won it twice, and obviously he's never finished outside of the top 5 here. But the T3 he put up last week was legitimately the first, I think, top 10 he's had in a year. So you really need to consider that a little bit. And I know he looked really good at times, but he was also relying on his short game for a couple rounds there. And it's not like Hideki is known for his short game play. So I think you might see a little regression. I think people are just going to jump right back on him here with no thoughts just because he did play well last week. I don't know. I'd like paying down for some of those guys in the 9K range better, quite frankly. I don't think he's a bad cash game play because he does play so well at this venue, but I'm a little cautious, to be honest.
Reed, is it a trap?
No, I was completely confused on what Jeff was saying there. He's a comfortable cash game play, but he's not going to play him. He might go down to some 9K guys. And look, there's a lot of value at this tournament, but Jeff mentioned it. Outside of that WD last year, for that entire year he was injured, this is really where it started. This guy hasn't finished outside the top 5 since 2015. So why wouldn't you play this guy? Why wouldn't you think that he could potentially get another win? Now, 3 wins in a row, if you take that WD out, is pretty hard to do at any tournament. But Hideki at this, there's some courses, right, for other players like Tiger at certain courses, and Hideki here, I mean, it's just a match made in heaven. The short game, if you're relying on your short game at this course when guys are making birdies, then you're already out of the tournament. So I'm not worried about his short game as opposed to his ball striking approach, all where he's number 1 over the last 24 rounds. So not scared.
Chase or fade, Trey Mullinax is the elite value that cracks the top 20, $6,700. The guy finished 25 last week. Reed, what do you think? It's his debut at this tournament.
Yeah, elite value it's a little misleading because, I mean, at this price tag, right, no one's really elite. I mean, Joel Dahmen is a guy that through stats is someone that rates out pretty nice. But what you like about Trey Mullinax and what you think about this course, right, is that it's a driver-heavy course. Even though it's not that far, these guys are pulling out driver quite a bit. And the average driving distance at this course is over 300 yards. And Trey Mullinax, that's his game. And so when you have driver in your hand and when you get a guy whose stroke gain off the tee is pretty good, he's going to be a value. He's going to be chalky along with Anders Albertson and Joel Dahmen. So and worry about that double-digit chalk. I don't mind that play at all. But top 20 seems like a good place for Trey Mullinax.
Jeff, his first 3 tournaments he played this season, he missed the cut, but now he's made the cut in 4 straight tournaments. The best finish, tied for 25th last week.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to be like the other lemmings and chase this. I mean, I want to fade it just because he's getting to the point where he's going to be like 15% owned in some of these big GPPs, which is kind of ridiculous for a $6,700 player. For a guy who's got 3 top 20s on his entire career in the PGA, I'm still going to chase it because he did play really well last week, and the ball striking has been good for a couple weeks in a row. He looks sharp, and he's a pretty talented young player. He's the guy who won on the web.com tour. He dominated there for a season, and he looked really good at times last year when he did finish high up. Maybe he's found a new level of consistency. I'm going to chase it. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Just know he's going to be chalky, and usually these things don't work out.
All right, good stuff, you guys. We're going to be back with you in a couple blocks to talk roster construction.
Hey, it's Brendan Glasheen, and with this DraftKings Fantasy Flash, talking NBA Showdown. The Red Hot Jazz flow into Portland to face the Trailblazers. Utah has won 9 of its last 10 games. Not to take credit away from the team, but it's been the Donovan Mitchell show. The NBA sophomore has been nearly unstoppable scoring the ball, 24 or more points in 12 straight contests. Not quite James Harden's level, but you get my drift. Mitchell's averaging 28 points per game in January, his best scoring month of the season. His field goal attempts have been in the 20s pretty much the entire month. But look out for the rested Damian Lillard on the other side of the matchup. D-Lil, the most expensive player on this slate at $15,600 as a captain, $10,400 as a flex. He returns to the floor after nursing right knee soreness. He only missed one game. Over his last 6, the point guard has averaged 29 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds a game. Pay the couple extra $100 for the veteran Lillard. He's in a good spot, healthy, at home, to outshine the youngster Mitchell.
An 8-game slate in the NBA on this Wednesday. You've seen his face way too much already in this show, so let's keep giving the people what was really one of the only choices available. Welcome back, Julian Edlow.
I don't know why he's being so mean to you, Julian. So
because he
Thanks,
owes me $1. That's why.
Okay.
I do owe Emerson $1.
So now we know Julian's in debt, but just looking at the latest news and notes ahead of tip-off, like what should DFS players need to consider when making those lineups tonight, Jules?
Yeah, so right now it's not looking really crazy. We still have the news that we had off the top of the show that Jusuf Nurkic is questionable for the Blazers, and that carries some weight because you have to look at how the slate is designed, and it's the last game to tip off on the slate, the only 10:30 p.m. Eastern game. So Nurkic is a guy that you really want to pay attention to and have yourself ready to pivot off of. Fortunately, in this slate, it's really easy having another center in that game, and Rudy Gobert for just $200 cheaper that you can pivot to if Nurkic is out. And then in terms of the earlier games, the Heat-Bulls game, Zach LaVine is going to be a legitimate game-time call. So if he doesn't play, guys like Chris Dunn, other guys in that Chicago backcourt become more valuable to us. And then we have the Heat, who Dwayne Wade has been ruled out. It sounds like Tyler Johnson is going to play in that game. He was questionable earlier in the day, but you just want to keep an eye on that. And then things are going to change. Like if you watched the show last night, we had within, the last 10 minutes of the show, a lot of NBA news came out with the Pelicans, who are shorthanded again on this slate on the second night of a back-to-back. So you want to download the DK Live app. You want to follow DK Live on Twitter. Things can change that are going to make quick tweaks in your lineup be very beneficial for you.
All right, you remember that scene in Ghost where they're like forming the clay together?
Yeah.
Jules, what I want you to tell me right now is how you're kind of forming your roster and constructing it tonight.
With that unfortunate visual.
Yeah, well, I'm in debt right now to Emerson $1, so I don't know if you want to take my advice, but here's how I'm looking to formulate my lineups tonight. Center's a really strong position. It has been all season, but it's particularly strong on this slate. So you've got your guys like Jokic, you've got Gobert and Nurkic, who we just talked about, and then there's cheaper guys, Willie Cauley-Stein, Jahlil Okafor. So you're really going to want to decide which guys there you want to play. Are you paying up? Are you paying down? And then that'll kind of help how the rest of your lineup falls into place. But the Celtics, as we've known for a little while, will be without Kyrie Irving. That means that other guys are going to have to step up. The Pelicans still extremely shorthanded with Alfred Payton remaining out, Etuan Moore resting, and then the three big guys, Anthony Davis, Julius Randle, Nikola Mirotic, all have been out. So the Pelicans have been a great place for value. The only thing to watch out for there, they're coming off a really emotional win in Houston last night and now return home, second night of a back-to-back. Tough defense in Denver, but there's still a lot of value on that team as well as the Celtics.
Julian, is there a game tonight that you'd be willing to stack?
Not necessarily. I think the value is pretty scattered, but I guess it can turn into stacking, teams like we just talked about, the Celtics and the Pelicans, just because they're missing so many big names. When Kyrie Irving's off the floor, Jaylen Brown's scoring skyrockets. He has 33 DraftKings points in each of the last two games that Irving sat out in the last week or so. And he's only $4,700. So you just want to look for little things like that, little trends that happen when guys are off the floor, what happens. And the obvious one right now is Jahlil Okafor with all those big guys off the floor. But Darius Miller, a really good shooter for the Pelicans, is a guy that you can kind of, because he's being forced into these minutes with so many guys out, look at. And you just want to kind of try and find those trends that are going to highlight smaller guys because bigger names are out.
Thank you, Julian Edlow. NBA Building Blocks is coming up right after Steve returns to fight Pierce.
Best value play.
Hey now, welcome back to The Sweat. Any comments, questions, or concerns, which I'm sure you have, please email trigia@draftkings.com. Now to the important stuff. And for that, we bring in DK Live's Pierce Dietrich and Steve Buchanan. You can email Steve too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm going to start calling.
I have an email
You
address.
guys talk. You guys talk.
You okay? You got something?
Yeah.
Don't kill both of
All
our
right,
mics.
no, I got
Kill
it.
hers. Oh.
Before we look at the Super Bowl Showdown contest, you just saw Blake Jarwin earning DraftKings' top value play with a career day of 39 fantasy points and with a salary of only $2,800. Is the Cowboys tight end even on the radar next season in drafts, Steve?
So he's very much on the radar, and for a specific game, and I can even tell you what that game is. It's going to be Week 17 against the Saints, because that's when the Cowboys are going to be resting every single player again, and it's just going to be Jarwin on the field. I mean, Week 17 is going to be the week of Blake Jarwin. That's what we're just going to rename it at this point. But realistically, I mean, it's just too early to tell at this point. I mean, he hasn't even sniffed any of that type of production all during the regular season. I mean, he exceeded his season touchdown total in that game alone. He just absolutely went ham there. Look, this was the only real production we saw from him. But we did see Dak Prescott start to trust him a little bit more, especially in the red zone as the season came to a close. So if that trend starts next season, he could be a red zone threat. But really, I mean, he's played 17 games. 16 of them were this season. So it's just a little bit too early to tell yet with him.
Pierce, is Jarwin on your radar at all?
This is ridiculous.
Okay,
you
cool.
can't count a Week 17 game. Ezekiel Elliott didn't play. The Giants are a terrible pass defense. They're notorious for being terrible against tight ends. This shouldn't count at all. How does this get the award? This was a joke game. Does anyone remember Week 17 and all the goofy plays that went through?
Yeah.
I would rather trust a preseason game than a Week 17 game. There's no way that this should count. No way.
Well, it counted. I'm sorry to tell you that.
Yeah.
We know he didn't play Jarwin that week.
No one played Jarwin.
All right, I'm looking forward to Jarwin landing on Pierce's season-long roster next year. Now for a segment many have been demanding. So we're finally answering the call. So let's roll the open. Do we have the open? It's put up your bukes.
I guess we
Steve
don't.
gives us 3 plays for the Super Bowl Showdown contest as well as their point projections. Then Pierce will chime in with his thoughts. So your first buke, please, Stephen.
You know, it's no surprise that this segment was resurrected right after a solo Julian segment. Obviously, the ratings need to come back, so that's why we're here with Put Up Your Bukes. Look at, he knows it. He knows it. Look at the big smile on his face. What a coward. Doesn't even have his mic on. So let's start with Philip Dorsett, okay, for 13 DK fantasy points. If you watch this show at all, you know that Dorsett is my dude for this game.
Bring me in.
Oh, Julian's here. Oh, go ahead. What do you want to say?
I've prepared nothing for this segment, but I want to be here, and I will fight you on all these sticks.
I love this.
Boy.
Go.
I tell you, this is the best segment on the show. You know, we have surprise guest appearances. He's never prepared anyway, so it should be no different than any other time. So Dorsett, I mean, like I said, if you've been watching this show at all, you know that I've been so high on him, especially for this game. He is the only wide receiver to catch a touchdown in the playoffs. If they're not rushing into the end zone for a touchdown, it's been Dorsett in this spot. And then he's probably going to see a good and healthy dose of Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters has been an absolute abomination in the playoffs. 8 receptions on 10 targets for 143 yards, averaging just under 18 yards per reception at this point. Dorsett has the speed to blow him away. Super Bowl MVP, put money on it. Dorsett, 13 DK fantasy points.
Pierce, how do you feel about 13 DK fantasy points? Seems like a pretty good return on $4,200.
Steve's been talking about Super Bowl MVP, and he's going to be the best player and all this, and he's amazing, and Marcus Peters is terrible, and I get that. But 13 fantasy points, if the guy's going to win MVP, he's going to have to get more than 13 fantasy points. Talk about a low ball offer here. 13 points, that's a touchdown, 3 catches and 40 yards. Whoa! Phil Dorsett just blowing the game away. 13 points. Give us a real number.
Can you give me?
Okay, how about 17? Is that better?
Okay, I'll take 17.
Can you give me that whoa again there, Johnny Utah? Hey, Julian, go ahead, chime in. You're here. Say something.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out something since I decided to do this segment 30 seconds ago. I kind of agree with Pierce that I've watched all these shows and I just hear show after show for the 9th time, cut the tape. This is the Super Bowl MVP. And now we come out here with 13 DK points. that's whatever 70 yards and a touchdown or something like that if he gets it on a bomb. If he's gonna win Super Bowl MVP, we're gonna need like 25 DK points here. We're gonna need well over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that's still probably gonna keep Tom Brady in the conversation for MVP since they're all coming from him. So this guy has to make a lot of plays, maybe take an end around into the end zone for a long touchdown as well. Way more than 13 we're gonna need here.
Yeah, he's exceeded 9 points this season only 4 times. So, hey, who knows? It could work out for you, though, Steve. Your second Buke?
I'm going to go with Greg Zuerlein for 11 DK fantasy points. And look, the Rams aren't afraid to use him on long attempts. Look at Julian's getting all mad already. Listen, buddy, you weren't even involved in this, okay? Calm down. Get Emerson the money you owe him and shut up, right? The Saints can attest to how they use him for those long shots. I mean, that's why you're out of the playoffs. Well, maybe some officiating stuff too, but I mean, we've seen him make 5 field goals over 49 yards this season, 6 between 40 to 49 yards. And honestly, I don't hate using him at captain either. I mean, this is one of the best kickers in the league. He only missed 1 extra point attempt on the year. If you're thinking that the Rams are going to win this game and they're going to be putting up a healthy dose of points, this is somebody that I think you should really seriously consider here. And we've seen him post over 10 DK fantasy points. I think it's 3 or 4 straight weeks now. So I think this is someone you can't have out of your lineups, especially in Showdown.
By the way, if you want to put Greg the Leg in your captain spot, it is going to be $5,100. Pierce?
Bargain.
Your thoughts on 11 fantasy points for the Rams kicker?
My thoughts are I'm tired of talking about kickers. We never had to talk about that before. Now, for the last month, we've been talking about kickers. And this is supposed to be such a great segment. And Steve's put one of his picks as a kicker. I had to look up
one game, Pierce.
I had to look up Greg Zuerlein stats. And you know what I found out about Zuerlein? He's got 3 nicknames. And I bet no one on here knows his 3 nicknames.
Greg the Leg.
1.
What else?
Legatron.
Legatron, that's obvious.
Which is the best one?
What's the third one?
Psycho T. Psycho Z.
Young Jeezy.
Oh, no, that's wrong, dude. So he actually has 4 nicknames.
Little less known, rarely used. Only for real, true Greg Zuerlein fans like Steve Buchanan.
That's a really weird way to say you did no research for this pick. So let's go to Julian, who also did.
He's done more than me.
All right, I did some research. Can I give it? What did you say? 11 fantasy points? In 13 games this season, he averages 12.2. Whoa, let's go out on a limb. Greg Zuerlein is going to score 1 less point than he averaged this whole season in the Super Bowl slate. He's scoring like 13 to 17 points per game in these playoff games. If you read my props article, I said take Greg Zuerlein for over 1.5 field goals. That's the prop bet, which he's done. He's kicked 2 or more field goals in 12 of his 13 games this season. You can't call it going out on a limb, doing an Buke and say he's going to score less than his season average. And I got laughed at for saying captain kickers like halfway through the season when I captained Gostkowski and he had a good game. I think it's a good strategy to captain kickers.
All right, Steve, you have one more.
Yeah, we're going to go with Chris Hogan. I didn't go too crazy here with only 8 DK fantasy points because honestly, he could easily exceed or go below that. I mean, I know it's a really bold take, but this is the type of player that Chris Hogan is here. So I feel like 8 DK fantasy points is a safe bet here. I mentioned yesterday he saw 8 targets in that last game. He's probably going to see a keep Talib in coverage, which really isn't the greatest matchup, but if you're going to get someone who's probably going to get around 5 targets in this game, be more than happy to take him at 3,800 here. He's really not a red zone threat, but what I like about Hogan is that he's probably going to get a decent amount of targets, and he helps really make everything else in your lineup fit. I mean, we kind of talked about it yesterday, using him at captain, and while it's probably not the safest play by any means, we want those big guys who can put those big plays at captain. But if you put him in captain, and then what you can do for the rest of your lineup, you can legitimately fit almost every offensive player you would want in this game into that lineup. So Hogan is not a guy that I'm expecting to really boost my lineup, but he makes a lot of things fit. And if I can just get a little bit out of him, then I'd be more than happy with that.
I don't know. You couldn't pay me to put that guy on my roster. What about you, Pierce?
So here's the research that Steve did. He looked at his props, 3.5 catches, 40 yards, and said, oh, you know what? I'll give him 8 fantasy points. Again, could you give us something exciting, like, 12, 15? These are the most conservative calls I've ever seen. I hope he does get 8 points, because if he gets 8 points, the Patriots lose, and Steve calls in sick on Monday.
What? Do it.
I like having Pierce on this segment.
Do it. Wow, he's
Pierce,
not
you should join us next season.
Let's see if you
I
can
mean,
have jobs.
Chris Hogan has surpassed 8 DK points in 2 of his last 3 games. He averaged like 7 on the season, so we're giving him 1 extra here in the Super Bowl. Pierce said he wants some hot takes. Cordero Patterson will triple Chris Hogan's DK fantasy points in the Super Bowl. He's going to take one to the house.
How much?
And
money
he's
you
only
wanna put on that?
1,600.
How much money you want to put on that? Actually, you're in debt. I don't know how much money you have right now.
I owe Emerson $1. I have nothing right now, but maybe if I can dig myself out of debt by the Super Bowl.
It's ridiculous. I came in today and he owed me $3 and he put $2 bills down on the table and I'm like, where's the rest?
Did you ever pay for the group?
This is not helping people win money in their lineups,
You
Emerson.
did? Okay. Well, yeah, you're right. It's not. All right. 2 of you, that'd be you, Stephen Pierce. You're free to go for the rest of the night. Thanks for the help. Now, we're bringing back our NBA panel. Julian, you're in that, so please stay. This is a little segment we like to call Building Blocks, but we'll bring in Alex and Mike to help.
But first, have you guys seen anything like on the Twitterverse or elsewhere, maybe injury news and notes that concerns you or DFS peeps should definitely be keeping an eye on right now? Mike?
I saw Tony Parker's out, but that doesn't really have much of an impact.
Hey, it's
but
news.
I think it's a lot of the things that Julian already highlighted. We definitely got to keep an eye on Zach LaVine. If he's out, Lauri Markkanen's also going to see a big increase in scoring.
Alex, what about you?
Same situation, mostly Zach LaVine, Yusuf Nurkic. I actually I like Jabari Parker more if Zach LaVine's out. Wayne Selden's also an option. The Bulls, they got a lot of guys that they can throw on the court.
And new to the program, Julian.
Whatever these guys said, I've been too busy listening to Buchanan tell me why Greg Zerloin's going to score 1 less DK point than he averaged all season.
So much rage. Let's move on to
And
the
call that a
building
hot take.
blocks, guys. Who you're building your lineups around tonight. Mike, who you going with?
I'm targeting Drew Holiday and De'Aaron Fox. Holiday scored at least 45.3 DK points in each of the last 5 games. The Hawks and the Kings are the top two teams in the league in pace of play. So Fox stands out as someone I want to get in my lineup. The only other time they played each other this season, Fox had a triple-double with 31 points, 10 rebounds, and 15 assists.
Julian, building blocks, please.
Yeah, it's got to be Jokic for me. I know he's going to be chalky. I know he's going to be expensive, but the matchup is just too good. He's been playing really well lately already, and now he goes up against the Pelicans, who Jahlil Okafor is the only body they can match up on him practically, and outside of that, he's going to have a size advantage on everybody, and Okafor is terrible defensively. So I'll pay up for Jokic and figure it out from there.
Alex, who you going with?
I would like pairing Donovan Mitchell with Luka Doncic. Doncic's at 8,800, Mitchell at 8,400. It's kind of that mid-upper tier area where you can get like 50 fantasy points out of these guys potentially. I mean, Mitchell's been hot. The Jazz have won 9 out of the past 10. And Doncic is playing in Madison Square Garden for the first time. He's very capable of going for 50, 55 fantasy points. So if you're looking to move down off some of the upper tier guys, I think grabbing that pair, I should say, is a good idea.
Hey, Jules, what value's got to be in your lineup tonight?
Yeah, I'm looking at Jaylen Brown here. I know that a lot of other injury news might create a little bit more valuable plays than 4,700, but I really like Jaylen Brown when Kyrie Irving is not in the lineup. I don't know if it has anything to do with Kyrie and Jaylen Brown banging heads so much earlier this season, but the last 2 games that Kyrie has missed, Jaylen Brown scored 33 DraftKings points in each. His shooting numbers go up a lot. His scoring numbers go up a lot. So at 4,700 as home favorites against the Charlotte Hornets, I think Jaylen Brown's in the spot to have a really good game at 4,700 bucks.
Alex.
I do like Jared Bayless here. He's only at 5,000, and the Timberwolves are probably going to be out point guards. I'm not sure if there's an official designation on Derrick Rose yet. Maybe that's a guy I should have mentioned in the earlier segment, but Jared Bayless over the past 3 games, he's averaging 15 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, almost a steal. So, I mean, he's a guy who, you can fit in most cash lineups, GPP lineups. I think he works.
Mike, who are you looking to for value?
I like Darius Miller, $3,800. Julian touched on him earlier. I'll say something nice about Julian since he was berated for the last 10 minutes.
He really was.
Thank you.
He needs
The
support.
last 2 games that Miller has started, he scored 36.8 and 28.8 DK points respectively.
Oh, wow. Okay, now, how about an off-the-wall pick? Someone you're going way off the board for, and why, please, Alex?
I don't know if this is way off the board, but I do like Jabari Parker in this spot. He went for 22 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. 2 blocks and 2 steals in only 23 minutes against Brooklyn. I mean, that's an insane line. But he's still just very cheap at 4,100. So I don't think the action's going to be on him. I think people are going to be looking elsewhere, especially towards that Pelicans game. But, we know Jabari Parker, for as inconsistent as he's been, can get hot at any game.
Julian, where are you going here?
Yeah, I'm looking at Justin Holiday. He's $4,300. I think there's a lot of plays in his neighborhood that people are going to be more drawn to. And he's just been a guy, he hasn't had good games yet since he's been traded to Memphis. But in 4 of his last 5 games, he's played between 38 and 40 minutes. That's just too much time on the court to keep doing nothing. Eventually, and he's got a decent matchup against the Timberwolves, who rank, I think it's 28th or 29th again in DraftKings points allowed to the small forward position where Holiday primarily plays. So he's a guy that is a little bit on the radar, but he just hasn't blown up yet. And I think he's bound to with the amount of minutes that he's getting on the court at some point.
Mike, who are you going way off the wall for?
I'll go dirt cheap and go with Tim Frazier at 3,200. Frank Jackson started when Elfrid Payton was out yesterday, but Frazier still played 20 minutes, had 32 DK points. At near the minimum price, I don't care if he starts or comes off the bench. He's going to play enough to provide some value.
All righty, slate approved time. Who is your lock play of the entire evening, Julian?
Jokic, we keep talking about him all night. Too good of a matchup, too good of a spot.
Mike, you are up.
I'm locked in on De'Aaron Fox. This has the potential to be a high-scoring game, so you want to have some exposure to it in your lineup. I'm not saying that Fox is going to get another triple-double like they had last time, but his price is reasonable enough to where he's someone I want to definitely have in my lineup.
And Alex.
I got Donovan Mitchell. Over the past 4 games, he's taken 25 shots a game, averaging 31 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. That's hard to ignore.
Yes, all right, awesome work, guys. Reed and Jeff are back for our final segment, helping us with roster construction before the Waste Management Open tees off tomorrow.
From tee to green, we give you all the tips, stats, and local knowledge you need to draft the best fantasy golf lineup possible. Unlike in most major sports in golf, the field of play isn't a regulated size. The many courses on the PGA Tour present a wide variety of designs and overall distances. So what? Well, on a given week, winning golfers may need to be either really good at crushing tee shots or at being masters of precision. And here's the thing, a huge majority of golfers are not good at both driving distance and accuracy. I know, I've looked it up. Most golfers have pretty dramatic splits when comparing their distance ratings and accuracy ratings. This fact shows up when you look at the leaderboards at certain courses. Check out these past winners at Quail Hollow, one of the longest courses on tour. And then at River Highlands, one of the shortest. Most of the golfers that succeed at these courses have skill sets that complement the course designs. The lesson here is you need to know the course and know the golfers that are well suited for it.
One more block to go here on the Sweat, and there's no panel that we'd rather spend it with than our golf panel. Hey, Reed and Jeff, let's talk roster construction.
I don't know, like Steve and Julian, that was pretty entertaining
You need to
earlier. Sorry. First up,
that was something.
Hey, who are you anchoring in this weekend's Waste Management Open? Let's start with you, Reed.
Yeah, it's got to be John Rahm for me. I just like his form. I talked about in the earlier segment. Like Julian wasn't free for this block, so I'm taking over for him. And he loves John Rahm as well. I mean, this guy like top 5 machine, and Jeff mentioned it. Even though he's in those smaller type tournaments, international, and the Euro circuit, or even the PGA, he's still elite in where he finishes as well. I mean, it shows same par 4 scoring. He's a little shaky. Is where you obviously you want someone that on those long par 4s, those 450 to 500 yards, you want someone that's elite. He's a little shaky on those, but ball striking wise, John Rahm is a guy that I'd pay up for because of all of the chalk that you have at the top there.
Jeffrey, who are you anchoring down for?
Yeah, I'm going with Webb Simpson here. And look, you can't go. John Rahm's obviously a terrific player, but the thing is, he's the most expensive player on the slate. Like I said, he's already overpriced compared to Justin Thomas. And there's so much value in the 9K range with guys who just come in here and dominate this. And Webb Simpson has some of the best recent form that I think people are actually really overlooking this week, and some of the best course form. The guy's finished T14 or better here in 5 out of the last 6 years. Absolutely loves this venue. Lost in a playoff a couple years to Hideki Matsuyama. he wins that playoff, and people are probably all over him, but he didn't, so he's only got a second place. His strokes gain approach is off the chart over the last 4 or 5 tournaments that he's played. He's still putting well. I really like Webb this week, only 9,700, so he's going to be my anchor play.
Jeff, what about a guy you think is going to be super chalky but a must-play?
Now, I'm going to go with value here, and I'm going to go with Lucas Glover, and it's kind of a similar situation as Webb Simpson. Lucas Glover is just, his recent form has been so good. Again, coming in for me, first in strokes gained tee to green over the past 12 weeks, or he's top 3 at the very least, depending on what kind of model you're looking at. But he's up there is the point. I mean, this is a guy who's been trending top 20s over his last 5 starts. He hasn't quite gotten over the hump, and people sort of write him off sometimes because he does struggle with the putter. But his putter has actually been pretty consistent over his last 4 or 5 starts too. He does tend to do a little bit better on Bermuda greens, and his course history here isn't terrible at all. It's been very consistent. So for 7,200, he puts in another top 20, and you're laughing. So this is a guy I'm just not even going to think about fading. I'm just going to go with the value and roster Lucas Glover.
Reed, who do you want to go with here?
Yeah, I think Billy Horschel is someone that you could get at 8,800, but a guy for me is, I talked about at the beginning of our first segment, is Hideki. I mean, when you talk about course form, and this course is interesting, right? It's a little bit of course history, but you don't necessarily want to put too much stake in a guy's going to be really good at this specific course. But when you have those type of finishes, when now you're coming in with Hideki, it's always been, well, he's not that good with his irons, but he's really good at this course. Let's play Hideki. Right now, we see how good he was with his irons. His putting is getting a little bit better. He obviously loves this course, and he loves putting on Bermuda. And even if he doesn't putt well, this is not a course that you necessarily need to be a great putter or coming into great putting form. And Hideki, at his price tag, he should really be one of the top 2 guys, even though his current form isn't exactly there. At this course, he should be more expensive. So Hideki is a guy that I'm playing no matter what the ownership is.
Rahm and Hideki, it sounds like Reed's going to be using a lot of Cody Gribble and Michael Wolff this week down in the 6K range.
Next question.
Okay, well, we have had 2 questions so far.
That's
no
true.
Tony Finau mentioned.
That's right.
Kind of bizarre.
Come on, Jeff. I thought you would appreciate that. No Tony Finau.
No, Finau's going to miss the
He's
cut
waiting
this
for
week. He's going to win at Riviera.
waiting for Slate approved.
How about a
dude.
sleeper
Stop.
pick,
He's waiting
Reed?
for
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, I like Bronson Burgoon. I think, like Jeff mentioned, if I'm looking at some of these top guys, you have to go down in the 6K range, and that's just why, right? There's a lot of value, or there's more value in the 6K range this week as opposed to other weeks. You have Anders Albertson, you have Joel Dahman, again, who's going to be chalky. Bronson Burgoon is someone that coming in hot with strokes gained approach, and at that price tag, I want to do, if we're talking about roster construction, you can definitely do the balanced approach, right? Those guys in the 9K range, 8K, there's a lot of win equity there. But there's guys that are playing really well at that 6K range. There's guys that are web.com guys who are coming up who at this tournament have given have given a platform to guys like John Rahm, who got a sponsors exemption as an amateur. So I like these guys in that range. And Bronson Burgoon, especially at a 350 to 1, he's someone that I'm keeping my eye on.
Real quick, we got to butt in here with some NBA news. Very important. The Bulls' Zach LaVine out tonight versus Miami.
Roster's locking 90 seconds.
Yeah, he had that ankle questionable, and he is out. Zach LaVine out for the Bulls.
A little more than a minute to go here, Jeff. How about a long shot pick for you?
How dare you interrupt my golf segment with this NBA?
Please, carry on, peasant.
Zach LaVine.
I'm sorry.
Hurry up, we have a minute.
Okay. I forgive you, Jesse. I don't forgive Emerson.
Oh my God, thank you.
My cheap play is Aaron Baddeley, 6,800. This is one of the most talented scramblers putters in the game still. He's getting up there in age, but he's been really good off the tee and tee to green over his last little bit too. And this is a player who's actually won in Scottsdale before. Got a really good track record. Played well in the desert a couple weeks ago in Palm Springs. Similar type track here. I like him for GPPs at only 6,800.
He's on Reed's roster.
Okay, we got no time. So slate approved pick, 30 seconds. Reed.
It's going to be Ricky Fowler. It's not going to be Tony. I like Ricky at this spot. I think he's got good course form, and he's got to win here. It's going to be Ricky.
DK News alert for that.
Jeff, slate approved.
Cameron Smith, the Aussie.
Ooh.
Let's go.
All right, guys, that's the show. This is The Sweat. I'm Jesse. He's Emerson. Download the DK Live app. You can watch us tomorrow at 6 p.m. on it. Well, not us, but, the show will be back. We're out.